Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner at 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100. Or check them out at UppercutChops.com. Yes! And a big welcome in to everybody listening in on all of our network affiliates, CBS, NBC, Fox, Independence from coast to coast, as well as everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, and Wild Cable Television affiliates where applicable, as well as Hotel TV and everybody streaming on Chicago Food Favorites. Folks, make sure to check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook, a fun group, couple thousand strong, talking about great foods, great recipes, great restaurants, you name it, it's there. Check it out, Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. And here with us today, going to talk a little bit of football, a little bit of basketball maybe, a little bit of baseball. Who the hell knows where we're going? It's Colonel Bucky, our longtime producer and close friend of the circus. Thanks for joining us today, Jim.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be back on your show. Like going home again.
It's like coming home back to the circus.
Exactly, and we prove it every day, right?
Right, you're the one that actually coined that phrase. And what was that again?
What the phrase itself?
Yeah. What was the phrase itself for everybody tuning in for the first time?
Well, it's a circus every day, and we prove it because it's. I mean, you never know what's going to happen.
No, you really.
We jump through hoops. Things could be falling from the sky. You never know.
How did that phrase come about in the first place?
That's a good question.
I remember the story, but let's see if you do.
Oh, but now refresh my memory here. Which story?
Okay, so way back when I was with you, when you were producing our show in Las Vegas on KMZQ 670 The Score, and it was early on, myself and Long Beach Lenny and yourself, and we really had no direction. And as we had no direction, we didn't know what we were doing, when we were doing it. And you were getting flustered at the controls of this show. And this was early on. I would say this was probably in June of 2017. Yes, folks, we've been on the air for 8 years. But Jim goes all the way back to May of 2017.
Well, yeah. And all the shows that I've produced over the years, and I've been doing talk radio, whether it's on the air, behind the scenes producing and all that. So for the better part of 30 years now. So in 2017, when and there's a structure to it. It's like a song. You have the first part, and then you have the verse, and then the second part. That's kind of the way talk radio has been, and it flows. And when we started, I said, wow, I have no idea where he's going to go. and usually as a producer, you're one step ahead of the host, and a lot of times you're thinking ahead of the host, and that's why. But I couldn't keep up with you guys because we would go off on tangents that had nothing to do. Like the girl in the FM studio next to us. Remember?
Oh, with the steam shovels for hands, right?
We just had some innocent talk about her appearance. I mean,
hey,
fun.
Just a couple of guys just making a wonderful observation at the super talent that was on the other side of the glass.
Exactly, and it was all with good intentions. And we got off on a tangent one day, and we just couldn't come back from it.
I know, and Marty didn't like me so much. I think Marty fired me from the station, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know.
I don't know, 40 weight or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. But, you know, the funny thing is, so it's a circus, and we prove it every day, was coined by Colonel Bucky, and that is Jim, our producer, Jim Dallas, who is in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame, by the way. In case you didn't know that, now you do. Make sure you look him up, and you'll see him there, Jim Dallas, but you can call him James Dallas as well.
Yes, yeah, 2011. I've just been around for a long time, Sal. That's why.
And you've also bowled a 300 or two, a couple of 300 games?
Yeah, I've had a sanctioned 813 series in bowling. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was my night, and it just happened to be on my mom's birthday of all days. I started out with it was a 269 game. And I also had a 247 and a 300.
Wow.
And it ended up an 813. It was just, it was a lot of fun. And, you know, people who are good at something, you never know how good you are until you just go out and prove it. And that's the thrill of competition. And you're like that. I mean, you're a baseball player, Sal. You know what it's like to be out there on the field and be competitive, and you always want to improve yourself. And that's the way I felt about bowling in my career until I blew out my arm, age 55 or whatever, and then I had to switch to bowling left-handed. And it took a 215 bowler and turned him into a little less than a 200 average bowler. It was humbling. But at the same time, I'm glad that I didn't stop or give up. I just said, hey, you know, if you can't bowl right-handed, just try bowling left-handed. And we've bowled before, you know, and you're a lefty as well.
Yeah.
And you throw a pretty good ball.
Wow.
But you know that once upon a time I was a much better bowler than I am left-handed.
Yeah, I've seen you bowl very well as a right-handed. But, you know, and I said, you know, Jim, why don't you try bowling lefty because you're having a problem with right-handed? And you gave me a little bit of nonsense about it. I'm like, no, give it a shot. And look, now you're pretty dependable. You know, honestly, if you want to be better, of course, you got to practice against those tough pins to pick up, right? So if you're a left-hander, it's hard to throw the ball and pick up that 7-pin in the far left corner because, you know, you're contending with the gutter. And some people call it a channel. I call it a gutter. But the point is, it's semantics, right? Like a ham bone for how many strikes, that kind of garbage. The point is, you've got to practice. And, you know, Tyrone, my old co-host and good friend, Tyrone Poole, 2-time Super Bowl champion and American Ninja Warrior. Tyrone always, I said to Tyrone one time, I said, hey, you know, practice makes perfect. He goes, no. Perfect practice makes perfect. That's a pretty good statement.
It's a strong statement. Yeah.
Right. And someday you'll actually practice knocking down that 7-pin. I don't know. I'm kind of waiting for it still because I think if you were able to pick up those spares. I mean, look, folks, bowling is fun, but it's also frustrating too, isn't it?
Very frustrating. And you nailed it right there. Strikes, not a problem. Even bowling left-handed with my weak hand, you can still get a fair amount of strikes, but the precision that it takes to get a spare, especially a corner pin, like you said, I mean, if you stand to the right of the lane as a left-hander, you throw over the middle arrow to the pin that's in the the left-hand side of the lane. You're kind of angling at it, and it has to be precise. Like you say, you can easily throw it into the gutter, or just barely miss it and not throw it in the gutter and still miss it.
But I showed you how to control that giant hook, because you like that big hook. You want to see the big hook all the time. But look, if you control it, tuck that pinky in, move your index finger in, essentially next to the finger holes, when the fingers that are in. And this is for all you people that actually put your fingers in the bowling balls rather than those that don't, the two-handed bowlers. The reality is, you really can control that ball, just like at baseball. There's a lot you can control with ball position on that baseball as a pitcher. Much the same principles apply. A lot of people don't really realize that here in our last 20 seconds of the segment.
Yeah, it's something that takes a lot of practice and discipline. And like you say, it can be very frustrating if you don't follow through, or if you just barely miss it to the right side of that 7-pin. I've done it a million times, it seems, recently.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it seems, because otherwise a million times, man, that is a whole lot of times.
In my mind, it seems like it's only been, 322.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, folks, we're going to be back here with Colonel Bucky right here on the Sports Circus in just a few moments. Folks, don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call
714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Master Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you and brought by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. All right, folks. Nice round of applause for them. In fact, let's give them the super applause because we can. They've been with us since the very beginning, and why not? That's loyalty for you, folks. All right, welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the Yankees, 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome into everybody else that is tuning in up and down the West Coast on all of our independents throughout the heartland, as well as down to Atlanta, Georgia, WDJY, and also our friends in Auburn, Alabama. Big hello to you. And that, of course, is WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves. All right, nice round of applause for them as well. They've been with us for quite a while as well. And folks, listen, we are joined here again by Colonel Bucky, who's our longtime, and when I say long time, he is our longtime producer for the show. He's been a friend of the circus for a very long time. And guess what? He's here joining us today back here on the Sports Circus. Jim, thanks for joining us once again.
Oh, thanks so much, Sal. It's great to be back on your show. I mean, we do go way back, and there's a lot of stories we could share. But I know there's a lot going on in the world today, like the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. You know, listen, some of the stories are really funny. I mean, one of the cooler stories, remember when we broke the Aaron Boone signing as the Yankees manager with Brett Boone on the show?
That was incredible. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, it was breaking news. At the time, we were actually interviewing Aaron Boone's brother, Brett, live on the air. And he found out live on the air, right?
Yeah.
It's just incredible. I mean, come on. How many managers of the New York Yankees do you know?
Well, you know, we got national recognition for it. In fact, even the four-letter network had put on the bottom line, they said the New York Post broke the story, and then I called up the four-letter network, and they said, I told them you got it wrong. I said, we beat the New York Post by about 4.5 minutes. And they said, well, you're going to have to straighten it out with them. And they did. And then the reason I call them ESPN, the four-letter network, obviously, because that's my term of endearment for them, if you know what I mean. Right. But what they failed to do was to acknowledge the Sports Circus. They put an unknown source broke the story. Yes. And so NBC turned right around and gave a real nice story, and it was in conjunction with, yes, believe it or not, the Huffington Post.
Well, they've been getting a little press here lately, too.
Right, but at least they got the name right, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
Right, so, I mean, we go back to stuff like that, but, you know, I have to tell you, there's a lot of noise out there because, you know, we just had the Super Bowl recently, right? You never know when you're listening to this show, so we'll just kind of leave it like that. So there was a game played with Philadelphia and Kansas City, and then they had this amazingly, it was almost like, I'm trying to look for the best phrase. You know, when you go to you see something really horrible, but you have to keep watching it again and again, almost like, right, it's one of those things. And so I saw that with, and of course I will precede it, with a chorus of boos. And it was a terrible halftime show. Oh man, that was There's the explosion from Kid Dynamite. Remember Kid Dynamite?
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
In a word, it was confusing. And that's the most positive take I can really come to mind right now.
You're being very generous with that word, I'll have you know.
Yeah. because I was trying to follow it, and like you said, it was so bad. You go, well, how are they going to get out of this? And it just got worse and worse.
Right.
And for people who missed the presentation, it was a lot of people. I don't know. There must have been. It was like a Cirque du Soleil show. It must have been 100 performers out there.
Well, right, but Cirque at least puts something on that doesn't offend most of the audience.
Right. There were people that were dressed in, I don't know, really strange uniforms, and they were red, and they were white, and they were blue. And all of the participants were African American. And, I wouldn't normally say that as a descriptive notice, but it was very noticeable. And that was the theme. And I was trying to follow the theme of what they were actually talking about. And Samuel L. Jackson, very famous actor, he comes in. He's got a red, white, and blue outfit on with stars and stripes and everything. And to me, they're looking back at Black history. And I thought this was a halftime show at a Super Bowl. And that's why I was confused, because I was looking to be entertained. I'm hanging out with some friends, a couple of adult beverages. We're having some nice hors d'oeuvres, and we just want to have a good time. And this heavy guilt trip, it seems to be put on our society. And I asked myself, so if the United States is so bad, why are people just dying to get here? Literally dying to get here, and all the illegal immigrants who come here illegally, and they have babies, and they become anchor babies, and they become American citizens. Why do all these people come here if it's so bad? And that's what frustrates me, because when I watch a Super Bowl halftime show, I want to see something that's fun and entertaining, because I'm hanging out with some pals I haven't seen since last year's Super Bowl, or maybe a family members that we haven't seen for 2 or 3 Super Bowls. And we want to have a good time. We don't want to be preached to. And it's like somebody in front of the screen, like Samuel L. Jackson, is wagging his finger at us. And I don't know. That was kind of my interpretation. Did you feel the same way, Sal, or am I way off base?
Buddy, it didn't represent America. It did not represent what Americans want. And what's worse, now I recently came across this, and here's a headline from a contributing writer named Carrie Anderson. We're going to go ahead and call you out, lady, with Yahoo Sports. She writes an article, and it says, Super Bowl halftime performer who raised the Sudanese Palestinian flag will not face charges. What? This is crazy. So a member of that halftime show, I don't even want to say his name, that alleged halftime show nonsensical performance, allegedly went off script holding up a flag representing Palestine and Sudan during the game. And it reads really simply like this. The Super Bowl performer, mind you, this is by Carrie Anderson, not by me. She says the Super Bowl halftime performer who held up a Sudanese Palestine flag during that halftime show will not face charges, New Orleans police had said. The NFL had said the individual will receive a lifetime ban from NFL stadiums and events. And of course, in my opinion, just right off the bat, do you actually think Roger Goodell really stepped in and said anything? I think Goodell is paid $40 million a year just to stay the hell out of the way of the powers that be. But let's go on with this real quick. It says the performer was part of a large 400-person cast of the halftime performance, wearing the same black sweats as dozens of other dancers. In the show, the performer stood on the trunk of a car on the set of the show and held up the flag. The protester then jumped off the stage and across the field before being tackled by men in suits and was later escorted out of the stadium by security. The flag combined was the flags of Sudan and Palestine, which are similar in construction. The words Sudan and Gaza were written on the flag with hearts, the likely drawing of attention to the humanitarian crisis happening in both countries, alleged. And the NFL and Rock Nation, the entertainment company that runs the halftime show, confirmed that the flag was not part of the planned halftime show. The protesters hit the flag before unfurling it mid-performance. The league said that, quote, no one involved with the production was aware of the individual's intent, close quote. I think they're full of you know what. It's not Super Bowl for SB, it's actually BS. How do you like that?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it was absolutely disgusting that nothing is going to happen to this individual. Again, they take an opportunity. There's 100 million people in the country that are watching this, and, you know, maybe a few people are saying, hey, you know, I never watch halftime, so let's cut it in half. Let's just say 50 million. That is a lot of eyeballs and a lot of influence, and I think they blew it.
Yeah.
They definitely blew it. If they wanted to make some kind of political message, then you know, do it in a much more Americanized way.
That's right. Folks, we're going to be back here in just a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. This whole halftime thing, it was awful. Absolutely awful. It should never be allowed. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas at the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by the music of Jason Owens. Folks, country music star Jason Owens. Check him out at jasonowensmusic.com. That's jasonowensmusic.com. In fact, we have a 14-part miniseries, if you will, on Jason Owens, and that is exclusive with the Sports Circus. Again, make sure you check him out, jasonowensmusic.com. And Jason Owens is from just south of Cincinnati, where, of course, we see the Bengals, who should have been in the Super Bowl, but then again, they'll find their way back there. But again, this segment brought to you in part, of course, by Jason Owens. Nice round of applause for him. Yes! All right, welcome back to everybody. TV, radio, streaming, Chicago Food Favorites. Make sure you check that one out, folks, on Facebook, Chicago Food Favorites. Well, speaking of food, Jim, during the halftime, we're back here with Colonel Bucky, our longtime producer and close friend of the Sports Circus. Jim, again, welcome back. I'm jumping all over like I always do.
Oh, hey, you never know where you're going to go. Just carry on. Be yourself.
It's a circus, and I prove it every day.
Every day.
Yeah, that's good. That is the phrase that you had coined back in 2017. What a great time that was. Geez, that's almost 8 years ago.
I know, time's flying. Well, Trump was president then, too, so.
Damn right he was. All right. All right. Nice round of applause for 45 and 47. That dude, he won the election 3 times in a row. And, of course, they said, nope, you didn't win it in 2020, whatever. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
How do you win? How do you lose in the middle of the night when you're comfortably ahead, whatever the case? I don't know.
Never in the history of this republic, which is coming up on 250 years here soon, and did we ever see anything where they stopped counting the votes in the middle of the night, only to recount in the morning? In every state that he was ahead in the night before, he lost the next day.
I know, just terrible. And, of course, that always deserves an astounding chorus of boos, as everybody hears. But think about this. That election nonsensical BS was just as bad as the halftime show of the un-Super Bowl. I got to tell you, man, the game, look, I know Philadelphia won the game, and I'm happy for my buddy Vince Papale. I always call him Vincenzo. I'm happy for him because, in fact, he had that movie made about him, Invincible, by, I guess, Mark Wahlberg was the star of that film. I don't know, whatever the case. I haven't seen it, but, I mean, I know Vince, and I know the story. What a great story that is. So happy for Vince, happy for Jaws, my buddy Ron Jaworski. Everybody else, they could pound sand, if you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, Philadelphia up until 2017, you're mentioning that year. I think that was the year they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was up there in Minneapolis for that. Yeah.
And they won for the first time because they had been in the Super Bowl a couple of times. They were, I think, 0 for 2 until now they've won, what is it now, at least, 2 out of 3. And,
yeah, that's what. Yeah, but remember that nonsensical BS Philly special crap. That was illegal motion. 2 guys were going at one time, and that was an illegal play. It should have never happened. And sorry for all you Nick Foles fans out there. He's just a journeyman. And, Nick Foles, I think he made $100 million just because of that play. Imagine that.
I think you're absolutely right. Show me the money! If I'm not mistaken, they put a statue outside the stadium, too, with the coach, who's no longer with the team, and with Nick Foles, who's no longer with the team. Well,
you know what? It was cheating. It was a cheating play in the first place because it should have never counted. It's not whether I want them to win or not. No, it was an illegal play. In the same way when the Bengals were in the Super Bowl and Aaron Donald lined up in the neutral zone on a 4th and 2 late in the game when the Bengals are going down for a game-winning drive.
And Jamar Chase was open. He just didn't have that fraction of a second to get the ball off because of the infraction that you're talking about, the neutral zone.
Right, it was a neutral zone infraction, but the problem is they allowed it because it was the home team. They wanted the home team to win yet another Super Bowl back-to-back.
And, I've had talks with my nephew about this. He's a big Detroit Lions fan. Of course, they had a great season, but disappointing in the end with what happened to them. But he's been frustrated with the NFL, with the officiating, because it seems like there is a lot of politics going on now. That it's like there's a narrative that must be met by whoever decides, whether it's Goodell or people behind the scenes that we don't know, but somebody's saying, we are going to ride this team. And the Chiefs, if truth be told, they were not as good as their record indicated.
Show me the money!
Yeah, I can think of two games back-to-back. The Cincinnati game, 4th and 16, and then, of course, on that 4th and 16 play, the ball falls incomplete. Bengals are going to take over. They're going to win the game. No. Here comes the flag. And then the official steps in and says, yep, pass interference, first down, puts them in field goal range. There's only, 16 seconds left after that 4th and 16. But now they're in field goal range. They kick the field goal, and they win 26-25. The very next week, Sal, if you'll remember, it was against the Atlanta Falcons. There was a defender for the Chiefs, was all over the wide receiver, was wrapped around him in the corner of the end zone. Again, game winding down, seconds left, no call, ball falls incomplete, and this time it benefits the Chiefs. Back-to-back games. So those are two that are really on my mind, and I'm sure there's at least one more example where the officials, okay, it just came to me, Sal, the Buffalo Bills game. There's another example of why the Chiefs were not the best team in the AFC, in my opinion, in 2024, because the Bills were ahead by 1 point, and the ball was thrown to Dalton Kincaid, the tight end. Looked like he got the first down, and then they marked him 4th and 1. And then on that 4th and 1, it was Josh Allen who was pushing forward, and you saw the back, you saw the 1 and the 7. He was to that line with his back, so the ball had to be right there anyway. But the official in the front says, no, he didn't make it. The official in the back said, yes, he did. They went with the one that said he didn't get the first down.
Show me the money!
And then the Chiefs got the ball, went down and scored, and never looked back. That's what happens. So, yes, the Chiefs were the chosen ones this year for whatever reason. And I know that there's a lot of rumors out there. Okay, they wanted to get extra eyeballs on the Super Bowl. And, hey, let's just co-op our relationship with the girlfriend of one of the players of the Kansas City Chiefs. And she's a pop star. Everybody will tune in. And apparently more eyeballs were on the Super Bowl because of her. But they shouldn't have been there in the first place. And, again, that's how we got into this conversation. That's my opinion, Sal. You can agree or disagree, but I think the Chiefs were not the best team in the AFC this season.
There's no question they were not the best team in the AFC. They probably were the third best team in the AFC. I would put Buffalo ahead of them, and I would also put Lamar Jackson's club, the Baltimore Ravens, ahead of them.
Absolutely.
Teams that have two very different profiles, but two very good squads.
Right. And certainly I thought this was Buffalo's year. And I still think that. They would have given the Philadelphia Eagles a much better game than what we saw.
Yeah, they play a very similar game. I got into a conversation here in our last minute. With a former baseball player for your Cincinnati Reds. And so his name to be held because we don't want it. We're going to protect the guilty here. And so he posted something on social media saying, well, it's great. And he had said, we're going to acknowledge the black quarterback. He's the fourth black quarterback to win a Super Bowl, this, that, and the other. And I had made a comment on something prior to that, prior to his comment. And actually, he didn't post it. He commented on a comment that I made. And I said, congratulations to Jalen Hurts, great job, whatever. And I said, you did a great job and good for you. And I don't, somebody had made light of, he's a black man and this, that. Who cares? I'm applauding the champion. He's a champion. Right. Exactly. And I don't give a damn what color his skin is. He's a champion. And so that baseball player turned around and commented on mine. It's a very popular baseball player. He's kind of a knucklehead. And he's like, you're ignorance and you're not acknowledging the fact that he's a black quarterback. But if it was an Asian quarterback or something, then you would give him all the credit in the world. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, you obviously don't know me as well as you say you know me, because if you knew me, then you would never say that, because let's face it, I'm colorblind when it comes to my friends and the people that I talk to. I don't give a damn who you are, race, creed, color. I don't care, because we all bleed red, just like the red that's in our United States flag, an old glory. Back here in a few minutes on the Circus. Lots more to come.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Deezer, YouTube, you name it, we're there. You can't get away from us. Also, make sure you check out the partners page. Lots of great partners over there. And this one's for everybody in Chicago. And I get that, like Chicago food, it is Al's #1 Italian beef at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. That's 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. Al's #1 Italian beef. If you don't know what it is, let's put it this way, folks. If you don't know what it is, you probably know what that blasted garbage Philly cheesesteak sandwich is. Well, guess what? This is that times 100 in caliber and quality. Mercy, it is good. Takes 20-odd hours to make it, unlike a fried sandwich that they serve up in Philadelphia with some onions and cheese whiz, slap it on a bun and give it to you. They should give you some Tums with it, but they don't. But the Chicago Italian beef sandwich is an institution. Check out alsbeef.com, and you can read all about it, alsbeef.com. They've been in business since 1938, serving up some of the greatest food around in Chicagoland, and they ship all over these United States of America. Check them out again at alsbeef.com. Yes! And it's good stuff. All right, so that one was for everybody on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Make sure to check out that group. Lots of great restaurants on there, great recipes. Participate, have some fun. And you'll be amongst thousands of other people that are there as well. And don't spam the page because I'm the administrator. That's right. All right, folks. We are back here with Colonel Bucky. That would be Mr. Dallas, but you can call him Jim Dallas. We like Colonel Bucky a little bit better. And we are talking football in the first couple 3 segments here. And we're going to shift our attention to the National Hockey League. Now, Jim, when you and I first started working together in 2017, you really didn't know much about hockey, did you?
No, I was a new hockey fan then. Obviously, I had been to a hockey game before. Well, we used to have hockey here in Las Vegas before the Golden Knights came along, but it was a minor league team. I went to one of their games, and it was a lot of fun. But you didn't know any of the players and you know the rules, the trapezoid and everything. I didn't know the details, the intricacies, you know, behind the game of hockey. So when you took me to a couple of Golden Knights games, I think that was the 2017 season, wasn't it?
Yeah,
the first year.
Yes, it was.
And I was just blown away. Because on TV, it doesn't really translate the way it does in the stands. It's one of those types of sports. And I suppose you could say the same about basketball to a degree. You feel the electricity of the moment.
And the speed of the game.
In the arena.
The speed of the game is just incredibly different when you're watching it live.
Right. Yeah, and I think people who watch football on TV, they should go to a game as well. It makes you appreciate the talent that these people have, the trajectory, the practice that it must take to throw the ball 45, 50 yards down the field perfectly to a guy that's, you know, he's cut to the right, he's cut to the left, zigzagged around, and somehow ends up in that same spot where the ball is thrown.
Right.
You have to see it in person to really appreciate it on TV.
So as a newer hockey fan, you know every year we pretty much have an all-star game and this, that, and the other, right?
Yes.
But not this year in the National Hockey League. No! What we have is the Four Nations Face-Off. This is compliments of NBC Sports Boston. What is the Four Nations Face-Off? Everything you need to know. We're going to go ahead and scramble over that very, very quickly right here, just in case you don't know, courtesy of NBC Sports Boston. The Stanley Cup isn't the only major hockey championship up for grabs. Instead of an all-star game, the NHL will hold a mid-season international tournament called the Four Nations Face-Off. And the tournament will feature only NHL players, marking the first best on best international tournament since 2016 World Cup of Hockey. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman has described, I have to do this for Gary Bettman because everybody that I know and everybody I see, whenever they see Gary Bettman, what do? There is always a chorus of boos whenever his name is said. So that's for you, Gary Bettman. Everybody loves you. Nonetheless, so as the commissioner described, the four-nation face-off is as a, quote, bit of an appetizer, close quote, ahead of the NHL's return to both the Olympics, starting with the 2026 Milan Cortina Games in Italia and the World Cup starting in 2028. So which countries are competing and who are the NHL stars taking the ice? And how will the tournament work? Well, here it is. So the four-nation face-off features Canada, Finland, Sweden, and the United States of America. And of course, the first game takes place on Wednesday, February 12th. And the tournament concludes just over a week later on the 20th. And what are the four-nation face-off locations? They're being played at the Bell Center, home of the Canadiens, before moving out of TD Gardens, the old Boston Gardens, home of the Boston Bruins. And the opening round features a round robin in which teams play 3 games, one against each of the other squads in the field. A regulation win is worth 3 points. In the standings, an overtime or shootout win is worth 2 points, and an overtime or shootout loss is worth 1 point. A regulation loss results in 0 points. 2 teams with the most points after the round robin will then meet in the championship game. And of course, games will be played on NHL-sized rinks with NHL rules, although overtime will look a little bit different. Round-robin contestants or round-robin contests that reach overtime will play 10 minutes of Southern Death 3-on-3. I love that. A nice round of applause for that. Buddy, I got to tell you, man, that is really exciting. I love the 3-on-3 hockey in the first place. I mean, that is just fast-paced. It never seems to end. Now, if the championship game goes to overtime, the teams will play a 20-minute sudden death period one after the other until one team scores. And it's on full strength. So, of course, games Feb 15 will be played in Montreal, with the remaining action being played in Boston. The highly anticipated Canada versus United States showdown will be played in Montreal. And, of course, the schedule is Feb 12, Canada and Sweden, Feb 13, U.S. and Finland, Feb 15, Finland and Sweden, also U.S. and Canada on Feb 15. Feb 17 is Canada, Finland, and Sweden and U.S., and the championship game on the 20th. And the teams are permitted to carry 23 players in the Four Nations face-off. And a real quick look at the roster has Team Canada just completely loaded with talent. John Cooper, the Lightning's coach, is the coach. Captain Sid Crosby, alternate captains Connor McDavid and Cale Makar. Defensemen Makar, Morrissey, Parenko, Sanheim, Theodore from the Golden Knights, and Devin Taves. Their forwards are Bennett, Sorelli, Crosby, Hagel, Jarvis, Konechny, McKinnon, Marchand, Marner. This is crazy. McDavid, Braden Point, Sam Reinhart, Mark Stone from the Golden Knights, goalies Jordan Binnington, Aiden Hill from the Golden Knights, and Sam from the Canadiens. The Finland team has their captain is Barkov, the Stanley Cup champion from the Florida Panthers. Alternate captains, Sebastian Aho, Mikael Grunlund, Mikko Rantanen. Defensemen, Joki Harju, Lindell, Mata, Mikola, Ristolainen, Vikinen, and Valimaki. Forwards, Sebastian Aho, Armia, Barkov, Granlund, Haula. Haula, you may remember him with the Vegas Golden Knights early on. Hintz, Kakko, Laine, Lehkonen, Lundell, and on we go. The goalies are Lankinen and Juicy Saros. Of course, Saros from the Preds. Team Sweden, they have their captain as Victor Hedman, another very good one from the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then their alternates are Ekholm, Matthias Ekholm, Carlson, and Nylander, defenseman, Anderson, Brodin, Rasmus Dahlin from the Sabres, Ekholm, Matthias Ekholm, Gustav Forsling, Hedman, and Carlson, the forwards, Arvidsson, Jesper Bratt, Carlson, Eriksson, Forsberg, Kempe from the Kings, Lindholm from the Bruins, Nylander, Nyquist, Pettersson, a very good one, Lucas Raymond from Detroit, Raquel, and Zimbabwe. And the goalies are Ersson and Gustafsson. And of course, Linus Ullmark, Team USA. That's the one we've been waiting for, folks. Head coach Mike Sullivan from the Penguins. Captain Austin Matthews. Alternate captains Charlie McAvoy and Matthew Tkachuk. Defensemen Faber, Fox, Noah Hannafin, Golden Knights. Quinn Hughes, McAvoy, Slavin, Werenski. Forwards, Boldy, Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Golden Knights. Jake Gunsel, Jack Hughes, Kreider, Dylan Larkin, Austin Matthews, JT Miller, Brock Nelson, Brady Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk, brothers are on there, Vincent Trocheck, and the goalies are Connor Hellebuyck, who's leading the world right now in the National Hockey League, Ottinger, and Swayman from the Bruins. Listen, folks, this is going to be one hell of a tournament. And what's cool is they're not playing the All-Star game because they don't need overkill with it. And, Jim, I have to tell you, as a hockey fan, I'm really excited about this. Take 30 seconds to talk about what you're expecting from such a star-studded tournament.
Well, the names, McNabb, and, the list goes on and on, but certainly when you're talking about the United States and Canada, I just wonder how the U.S. can really compete with these traditional northern tier type countries where they live, breathe, and eat hockey from the age of 2 or 3 probably.
Yeah, and there's a commercial. They show some guy with a baby. The guy looks like a kangaroo. He's holding the baby, and they're right next to the glass at a hockey rink. And the guy standing next to him said, "Oh, is your kid on skates yet?" And the baby's only like 5 months old or something.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, "He doesn't even walk yet." So the guy goes, the next to him goes, "Well, I guess he's just not cut out for hockey." It was ridiculous. Oh, it's ridiculous. But anyway, we'll see how this tournament stretches out. I got to tell you, folks, I'm very excited about it. And it's not going to be a watered-down tournament because whenever these teams play, this is knockdown, drag-out hockey as God intended. How do you like that, folks? All right, big thanks for Colonel Bucky joining us today. Thanks for coming out of the show today, Jim.
It's been a lot of fun, Sal. We'll have to do it again sometime soon.
Yes, we will. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We're going to see you here in about 23 hours on your favorite station. Of course, I got that from Colonel Bucky on your favorite station. So until then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.